Hello and welcome to the FatBoss Guide to Garalon, 10-man heroic in the heart of fear.
Hello, and this encounter hasn't changed too much compared to normal.
It hasn't.
As probably expected.
Yeah.
But there is a new phase that's been added, which is always good.
Yes, it's
So,
lovely.
yes.
Now, if you haven't seen the normal mode guide to this fight, then please do go check that out because a lot of the mechanics are very, very similar. Like the pungency debuff, how all that shit works, and we're not going to be explaining that. So if you don't know how to do all that sort of stuff, then go click up on the annotation. That'll take you straight over there, and it'll save everyone a lot of time.
Now for this encounter you want to bring 2 tanks, because in the last phase the boss actually becomes a boss.
Yes.
So you can't just have DPS tanking the cleave thing he does, you actually need tanks. You want to bring 3 healers. You might be able to do it with 2, but you'd probably struggle.
Yeah.
And then you want a mixture of DPS. You probably want to bring more range than you do melee, especially with the pheromone stack. So
yeah.
Now there are a couple of changes. The boss will no longer crush when you swap the pheromones. He'll now just crush periodically. He'll do it every now and then. And the pungency debuff, the stacking debuff that increases the amount of damage that you take from pheromones, now lasts for 4 minutes rather than 2 minutes, which means that you might need to hold it a little bit longer than maybe you're used to in normal mode.
Yeah.
And at 33%, the boss does go into his last phase. But before we go into the last phase, we just want to talk very briefly about how the pheromones work.
Yeah, so this first phase has changed quite a lot just because the boss is now doing his crush periodically, which means that he can crush while you have high pungency stacks, so your pheromones is going to be hurting the raid quite a lot. And of course he's just crush, which does a fuck ton of damage already, and he's going to be stunning you for 2 seconds, and then you'll have additional ticks of your pheromones. So what can happen is you can be globaled in a sense, is in you'll be stunned throughout that thing and you can't survive it without you can't survive it. So what you may need to do is not be so narrow-minded on how many stacks you can swap the pheromones on, because if a crush is coming in and you do have high pungency stacks, then you might kill your raid, as I just explained. So you may need to swap your pheromones just before a crush comes in if you are on high pungency stacks. Now, for 10-man, you do want to be switching around the 20 mark, but if your healers aren't comfortable and a crush is coming in, and you are on like 19 stacks or something, you may want to switch beforehand. However, if you're on like 15, 13 stacks or whatever, you should be able to deal with it quite easily. It's not going to be too much of an issue. Just make sure you use a raid-wide cooldown or something if it is going to be an issue such as that.
So yeah, as a guideline, do it at 20 stacks, but you might be able to go more, and you might need to go less because of a crush. It's all about communicating with your healers. Just make sure you're clear on exactly when to do it.
Now, of course, exactly the same as normal mode. What you want to do is you want to be kiting the boss around the outside of the room, leaving your pheromone trails around the outside of the room as well. Nice and simple, not too hard. And this will stay exactly the same until 33%, which we'll explain in a minute. And yeah, it's all about just switching over the pheromones at the right time and making sure you're in range of your healers. All the same shit as normal mode.
Just make sure your tank's getting hit by the cleave.
Yep.
All that standard shit.
And just kill the legs and nuke boss, not hard mode.
Now, once the boss does reach 33%, he'll become this new phase where he will no longer follow the person who does have the pheromones. That person can now go and drop their pheromone trail wherever they want.
Yeah.
But you still need to continue swapping around 20 stacks, and you still need to make sure that you keep passing it on, as the damage will still come in from that. And the boss will now start wailing on your tanks. Now, in this particular phase, the boss does quite a lot of damage on your tanks.
Yeah.
He does hit very, very hard. So it's important as a tank that when your cooldowns aren't down, or when you don't have a cooldown to minimize the amount of damage you're taking, that you do ask for external cooldowns from your healers.
Yeah, you just got to make sure that some things you can do is maybe as you're going into the 33% phase, have a couple of legs up and ready, and then as soon as it hits 33%, just take out a fuck ton of legs all at once, and then just get that huge amount of health just taking off the boss.
Yeah, because you don't want this phase to go on that long.
No.
Really, you should be saving things like Bloodlust and stuff for this phase, because the boss does hurt.
But in terms of actually tactical stuff, it's a very, very simple phase. It becomes easier, really. As long as you can have the numbers to do the phase, then this is a very, very easy phase to do. So as long as you can do the rest of the fight going up to this point, and you do have enough numbers, this boss shouldn't be too much of an issue for you, and you should get a kill, which is lovely.
So thanks for watching. If this guide did help you out, please do drop us a like. It helps us out significantly, and make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to see other 10-man heroic guides here by FatBoss, then please do click up on the screen now on any of the bosses, and that'll take you over to those bosses' heroic 10-man guides.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.